Recently, I caught up with a client who has grown from 2 million a year to 200 million a year. They've gone from a small team of less than 10 people to a massive team of people. And I was lucky enough to go into their head office and to talk to them about how they could improve the business even further. And we did something really surprising. I didn't plan it this way, but this is where the conversation went. We went back to the very first fundamental conversation that I ever had with this guy about what makes a good idea, what makes a good startup. And what was so strange is that even talking to a business doing 200 million a year, it was so valuable to go back to the very first principle, the very, very first thing that we talk about with every startup, even if they have zero revenue. And that is the entrepreneur sweet spot. The entrepreneurial sweet spot is 3 circles. It's the passion that you have, the problem that you solve, and the way that you get paid. So passion, problem, and payment. And when we look at all business ideas at the very, very beginning, we say, do we have a passion for this? Is this something that we're really genuinely enthused about? And how do you know you're enthused? Well, you've got a history with it. You've actually been doing it in some form or another for many, many years. You keep coming back to it. You can't put it down. There's something about it that you are aligned to, and your origin story lines up to it. Let me quickly interrupt. I am running a workshop on how to stand out, scale up, and make a bigger impact in your industry. If you would love to master customer acquisition, productization, and differentiation, come and join my workshop. You'll find a link in the description. Now let's get back to the video. The other thing about passion is that you've got a vision for the future. You want to see something happen in the world. There's something that we're off track on as a society or as a world, or as an industry or a marketplace, and you go, gee, I wish we could get to this point here. I wish this could happen in the world. So you've got a vision for it. And in the middle, you've got what we call a mission, something that you are strongly drawn towards doing. You want to get hands-on with this particular thing. So we call that passion, origin, mission, and vision. Well, that's how I think of passion. What is our origin story? What is our mission? What is our vision? And when we have alignment between those 3 things, origin, mission, and vision, then we say, you know what? That alignment gives us passion. The second thing is the problem. Every business exists to solve a meaningful problem in the world, right? There is this thing that customers are trying to get done, they can't get it done, and our business comes along and does that for them. So if we zoom in on that, we know that every single customer has this little model inside their head, which is their current reality, their desired reality, and their constraints that they're working with, or their obstacles or their criteria that they're working with. And they're sitting there saying, every time I try and get this result, this outcome, I get stuck by these constraints, or these obstacles get in the way. So I get stuck with this current reality, which I'm not happy about. And when we understand that little diagram, we understand what customers are trying to get done, and then we know how to address it. So then we start thinking about, what would be my way of solving that? How would I go about creating a process, or creating a system, or creating a service that moves people from their current reality to their desired reality without getting in the way of the constraints. And then the third thing that we look at with a great business idea is the way that you get paid. So getting paid is about capturing value. So every business, when it's doing its activity, when it's doing its thing, it's creating a wake of value behind it, right? It's creating value in the world. And some businesses capture a tiny amount of that value, some businesses capture a lot of that value. We've got to figure out how to capture more of the value that you create. So what happens is that with commoditized pricing, if your business prices itself the way that every other business prices itself, then you'll probably capture just a tiny amount of value. But I've worked with businesses where we've factored in things like success fees, where we've factored in things like pricing that ratchets up as we achieve more and more with the customer. And those pricing models, they allow us to capture more of the value. So let's sort of think about it like this. Additionally, when we look at the payment section, we need to look at the highest value thing that your business knows how to do, or that you know how to do. So imagine like a brain surgeon, and this person knows how to do brain surgery and gets paid tens of thousands of dollars to do brain surgery. And they think to themselves, gee, I wish I could make a little bit more money. I'm going to go out and start mowing people's lawns. I'm going to be doing some lawn mowing. Now, why is that a bad idea? It's a bad idea because it's not the best use of their time. Every hour or every day that the brain surgeon is out there mowing lawns is a day that they're not doing brain surgery, which means they're not adding the most value that they know how to add. So when we looked at this $200 million business, we actually had to look at these 3 circles. And we said, of all the people working here, how many people know the origin story? How many people know the vision? How many people know the mission and the values of this organization? What levels of passion are we seeing in the overall team? And we discovered that the original crew who were there at the beginning, they had massive amounts of knowledge, they had massive amounts of passion, but many of the new people in the team didn't share that. They didn't know all of that information. So by creating some diagrams that showed the origin story, that showed the vision, that showed the mission, that showed the values, putting that information up around the physical office, we were able to share that passion a little bit more. By getting people who have been around for 10 years to share information with people who have been around for 10 months, we were able to enroll more people into the passion of the organization. Second thing we looked is the problem that this company knows how to solve. We said, hey, there are like 3 or 4 levels of problems that this company knows how to solve. They're spending an awful lot of time on level 1, but that doesn't add a lot of value, doesn't solve massive problems. But they're not spending enough time on level 4 and 5, which is the big stuff, the really big problems they know how to solve, the really valuable problems that they know how to solve. What if we could get rid of or outsource some of these level 1, level 2 problems to somebody else and free up some time and capacity and some focus and some attention to be focused on the level 4 and 5 problems? And it turns out that that stuff is way more profitable as well. And then the final part was looking at pricing. How do we create success fees? How do we capture more of the value? And what we discovered in that company is they weren't reporting all the value that they were capturing. They were going out there and talking to their customers about what they had done, but they weren't capturing the value and they weren't reporting that value to the customers. So all the customer was seeing was the time or the hours spent or the amount of expertise that had been allocated to that challenge. But what the customer was not seeing was the outcomes and the value that was being produced and what that value was worth to them. Now, as soon as we were able to start reporting that, it's easier to capture more of that value in the pricing. So by going back to the basics of passion, problem, and payment, we were able to create some amazing breakthroughs within that team. I would like you to revisit your entrepreneurial sweet spot. See if you can go and codify a little bit of the passion, origin, mission, vision, and values. See if you can codify the problems that you know how to solve, and see if you can figure out how to identify and capture more of the value that you're creating anyway. I hope that's helpful. I hope you enjoy revisiting your entrepreneur sweet spot. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, leave me a comment, and I look forward to seeing you next time.